And welcome back into Game Day Sports Radio. Boji Wood along with Mike Bernard here on Friday morning, November the 3rd. Mike, how's your week been?
Good, good. Ready for a weekend? How about yourself?
Good. Played golf a couple of times. Going to play golf again today later on after we get through with the show. So I've had a good week so far.
Yeah, nice. 3 times in 1 week.
Yeah, that's not bad for an old man. All right, let's move straight into the games this week. That ranked versus ranked. Number 25, Kansas State at number 7, Texas. That's the noon Eastern time kick on Fox. What do they call that? The big noon kickoff or something
Right.
like that. K-State comes in at 6-2. They lost to Missouri early, and a lot of people thought Missouri. And then most people wrote the Wildcats off after they lost to Oklahoma State. I began to wonder about them a little bit myself. But over the last 3 weeks, no one's looked any better or focused as Kansas State. They defeated Texas Tech, TCU, and Houston by a combined score of 120-24, somewhere in there. Texas, they're one blown coverage away from being ranked number 2 or number 3 in the country. They're still looking at getting into the college football playoffs. The Longhorns, though they don't come into this game very healthy, key injuries could be their downfall. However, they're still favored in Austin.
They are. They are a 4-point favorite. The total is 49 and a half. Malik Murphy, coach, he made his first start. He didn't have good numbers. He didn't look that good, but they did get an easy win over an outclassed BYU team. K-State, they have a solid resume. They're one of 5 Power 6 schools that are in the top 15, both scoring defense and scoring offense. The point spread says K-State covers here, but I don't see value in the game.
Number 14, Missouri, speaking of the Tigers that knocked off Kansas State early in the season, they travel to Athens to take on the number 1 Georgia Bulldogs. That is the 3:30 p.m. Eastern time kick on CBS, the SEC featured game. It's actually part 1 of the CBS doubleheader on Saturday. The Tigers, they come into Athens surprisingly at 7-1. The Bulldogs, they haven't looked like world beaters all season long, but they haven't lost to anyone. And as I always say, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And so far, no one has beaten them. Missouri's talent level nowhere near what Georgia is, but the Bulldogs need to remember that last year in Columbia, they needed 14 fourth-quarter points to knock off Missouri, but no one's given the Tigers a chance. Bulldogs, huge favorite between the hedges.
Yep, they're favored by 15 and a half as I look at the board right now. Missouri does come in 7-1. And listen, Coach, the players, you just mentioned it. The players know that they can play with Georgia because they had Georgia beat last year in Columbia. And, of course, Georgia came back to win that game. And as good as Georgia has been the last 3 years, right now I'm seeing them improve each week. I do have a small lean to Missouri, but I'm not going to have a ticket on them. I think I might play the over here.
Number 5, Washington at number 24, Southern Cal, kicking off in prime time on the East Coast, 7:30 on ABC. The Huskies, they're one of 5 undefeated teams, and it's real simple for them. They went out. They're going to be in the college football playoffs because either number 3 Ohio State or number 2 Michigan, they're going to cancel each other out when they play each other if the other runs the table. The Trojans, they thought they were the team that had penciled themselves in for the college football playoffs, had the boy wonder coach, reigning Heisman winner, but, it hasn't worked out. They've lost the last 2 times out to Notre Dame and to Utah. Frankly, the Trojans are lucky not to be riding a 3-game losing streak right now because overmatched Arizona outplayed them and just ran out of juice in a 3 overtime loss in the Coliseum several weeks ago. But all that being said, the Huskies are only a slight favorite there in Los Angeles on Saturday night.
Yeah, that's right. And first of all, I'm not sure if the Ohio State-Michigan loser is going to be out. We have to see how that plays out. Okay. Both of them might get in again, just maybe one last parting shot from the committee before we go to 12-game playoff. But, Coach, USC, they play horrendous defense when they even bother to play defense at all. The total in this game is 76. The point spread tells me USC covers or possibly wins the game. And look, here's where we start talking about it. The pressure of November is here.
Right.
We saw it start to creep in a little bit the last week of October, and the pressure of November has affected Pac-12 and Big 12 teams more than any other conference. Oregon, Kansas State, USC, Baylor, Oklahoma State, they all blew chances to play, to be in either the BCS game or the playoff, losing as a big favorite in November.
Number 13, LSU at number 8, Alabama. This is part 2 of the CBS doubleheader. They'll kick off 7:30 on CBS. Tigers come in at 6-2, lost to Florida State to open the season, and a shootout to Ole Miss a few weeks ago. Bama's only loss is to Texas, but that was back in game 2. And might think about this. When does the winner of this game not represent the SEC West in Atlanta? 21 times in the 30-year history of this game, one of these two teams has been there. And, the Tigers, they won last year in Baton Rouge on a 2-point conversion in overtime. I thought that was a gutsy call by Brian Kelly. You win or lose on one play, and you control the football. And in today's game that's so focused on offense, I don't know why more coaches don't take advantage of that in the overtime period. I haven't been sold on this LSU team all year. They've underperformed. They just haven't looked like a championship caliber team. Now, Nick Saban, he doesn't like to lose at all, but he certainly doesn't like to lose to the same team in consecutive years or a place where he first made his appearance in the Southeastern Conference. I'm a little surprised, though, that the Tide isn't favored by more than they are in Tuscaloosa on Saturday.
Yeah, they opened as a 6-point favorite. They're down to 3. And the sharp people I talk with, part of our network, they're divided. Some people see value with Alabama laying only 3. Others are taking LSU. Some people like LSU to win the game outright on the money line.
Wow.
Coach, look, when Alabama's favored by less than a touchdown, they rarely cover. They don't have a good track record. And most of their outright losses come in this type scenario where they're favored by 7, 8 or less. Now they're only favored by 3 here. Many odds makers and handicappers I talk with, they have LSU rated in the top 5. They don't. Again, we don't care about the win-loss column.
Right.
That's from a standpoint of who's going to play, who's going to be favored on a neutral field. I'm going to sit this one out unless the number moves down to 2.5.
Right.
I just don't have a good feel for the game, and this is a game I normally have a play on every year.
Yeah, this is again, this is a weird year. I look at LSU and I see pieces of the puzzle there, but they're just all scattered all over the place, and they just have not been able to put it together. And you can point back to the last 2 weeks, and 62-0 versus Army, but again, it was 62-0 versus Army in Baton Rouge on a Saturday
with a backup
night.
Quarterback.
Exactly. And so, it's going to be tough for me not to think that Alabama will cover on this. But again, you've got the history right there. And if I think back, and this has been a decade or so ago when LSU beat Alabama 6-3 in Tuscaloosa, Alabama was favored by less than a touchdown then too, weren't they?
5.5, somewhere around there. And look, you go back to 1969. The road team has had tremendous success in this series. And just one of those weird quirks, but it's not really a quirk when you're talking 4 or 5 decades, right?
Right.
One thing, Coach, is Saban said, I don't know when, here not too long ago, that great offense beats great defense in today's college football.
Yeah.
Well, LSU is the number 1 offense in college football. So I think that has a lot to do with the point spread and the drop from 6 to 3.
Right. Well, it's going to be an interesting game. Anything else that of course, we always talk about ranked versus ranked on this edition of Inside the Numbers, but any other games out there that of the non-ranked teams or a ranked team versus a non-ranked team that has kind of piqued your interest?
Well, I'm about to go into a 6-hour marathon of finishing up college football for the weekend.
Mhm.
One game that and a lot of people are not going to want to play this, but I think Rutgers plays Ohio State close, and
Mhm.
normally Ohio State just throttles those type teams.
Right.
But Rutgers they are shortening games. They're playing solid defense, and I'm not sold on the Buckeyes quarterback.
Right. All right, Mike. I'm going to let you go, but real quick, you and your cohorts. What do you make of this Michigan fiasco up here with the allegations? I personally, I think that there's some legs to it. I don't know if it's as sinister as they're making it out to be. But again, but how do you think? How do you and your guys think that's going to affect Michigan going forward?
From an analyst and handicapper standpoint, I think it only helps them. Okay, because it'll embolden them and us against the world. Saban is and all the elite teams try to find ways to make them put the chip on their shoulder.
So this
So
just
I think
galvanizes them as a team, then basically.
it does. And then from a separate personal standpoint, you read everything on Twitter and everywhere, all the other media outlets. But what I don't like is when people say, well, this rule is dumb.
Yeah.
Well, or I'm like, okay, well that's another discussion.
Right.
But
Yeah.
if the rule is broken, the rule is broken. You talk about how it's an unfair rule or antiquated another time, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems to me like a lot of people are really trying to make it into a bigger deal than it is at this point.
Yeah, and listen, things like this, little ploys, little gamesmanship, they've been going on for a long time, and it's and it's not going to change. I always liked, and the NCAA, of course, is on campus looking into all this, and always with the NCAA, I always like to harken back to the old Jerry Tarkanian quote that the NCAA is so pissed off at Kentucky, they're going to give Cleveland State 3 more years of probation, and that's kind of the way. That's kind of the way I think this is going to go. Well, Mike, appreciate your time. You have a good weekend, and of course, we'll be back with you on Monday morning here on Game Day Sports Radio.
Thanks, Coach. Take care.
Hey, I'll be right back after this quick break. We'll have Coach Max Howell with us.